On the morning of 5 November, the Israeli army stepped up its operations in Gaza. Dozens of Hamas targets were detected by drones during the night, and it seems that a large number of Hamas militants surrendered by laying down their weapons in the operations that started in the early hours of the morning. The Israeli army, which is deployed in the northern parts of the region and secures the region, continues to advance from the north to the city. As impartial eyes, we continue to convey all the developments to you. You can use the Super Thank You button to support us. The Israeli Defense Forces are stepping up their operations in the Gaza Strip as the conflict between Israel and Hamas rages on. The combined effort, which includes ground forces, the Air Force, and the Navy, aims to severely damage Hamas and neutralize threats coming from the ground. Air and naval troops are vital to fortifying the campaign, even as ground operations pick up speed. Fighter jets, drones, Navy ships, and artillery are all carrying out precise targeting and airstrikes to support ground forces. In the operation, real-time intelligence is essential. In order to direct and enhance their operations, the information obtained is immediately shared with the air and naval forces, resulting in highly coordinated and cohesive IDF attacks. Israeli military officials have verified that these joint measures are already yielding significant success. The other day, military authorities declared that Israeli soldiers had penetrated Hamas's initial line of defense. Concurrently, the military persisted in bombarding the Gaza Strip and removed the head of Hamas anti-tank missile system. Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari, a spokesman for the Israel Defense Forces, stated that our forces breached Hamas's front lines of defense in the northern Gaza Strip, thanks to coordinated strikes, precise intelligence, and advanced planning. The Israel Defense Soldiers' 162nd Division Commander, Lieutenant General Itzik Cohen, stated that Israeli soldiers are approaching Gaza City's gates and are moving more into the Gaza Strip. Speaking to reporters close to the Strip, Cohen claimed that in the last 5 days, they had totally destroyed all of Hamas's explosives, underground tunnels, and other facilities, as well as attacked and destroyed the majority of the organization's vital infrastructure. Cohen did caution that there is still a lot of work to be done because this is a lengthy task. Furthermore, the Israeli Air Force persisted in offering protection to the combat soldiers and tanks within the area. The ADF reportedly killed Mohammed Assa, the head of Hamas anti-tank guided missile array, during one of its raids the day before. Assa oversaw all Hamas anti-tank missile groups in the Gaza Strip, the army claimed, giving regular orders and supporting the unit's activities during crises. The army released a video of the airstrike. According to the IDF, he oversaw multiple missile assaults against both IDF soldiers and Israeli civilians. 2 days ago, one of these missiles in Gaza killed 11 soldiers inside a Neymar armored personnel vehicle. 2 days before, 2 more Israeli troops were killed when an RPG was shot into a building they were in. The army's death toll now stands at 16, with 2 more soldiers losing their lives after their tank rolled over an explosive device and another killed by mortar fire near the border. After weeks of an exhausting air campaign, the army moved to difficult urban warfare in the congested streets of Gaza, and the casualties highlighted the threats facing the soldiers. It is believed that a massive network of tunnels was used by Hamas members to ambush or surprise forces underneath the urban fighting zone, which is also reported to be strewn with bombs and booby traps. Can the Israeli army defeat Hamas in the urban fight, though? The difficulty and lethality of fighting in densely populated urban locations cannot be overstated. The hardest and most horrific combat of the Iraq War was the second combat of Fallujah, which took place in November 2004. In such a setting, defenders are able to maneuver between and protect various buildings at street level and above, directing attackers into narrow streets. Tanks and other tracked vehicles are deprived of one of their major advantages and are especially susceptible to ambush due to the small spaces. The close-quarters battle makes it impossible for the attacker to have any air dominance because bombs cannot be employed safely against such a close opponent. In the cramped quarters of hallways and rooms, the attackers will probably come across booby traps that are quite effective as they attempt to clear the structures. The IDF will encounter all of these challenges during an assault on Gaza, which Hamas's expanding tunnel network makes worse. These facilities are unknown and unmapped, which will make it extremely difficult to find hostages and remove rebels from them. The fact that there are an estimated 2 million civilians residing in Gaza who might come under fire adds to the complexity of the scenario. This represents an additional regrettable aspect of the urban war. In a military invasion of Gaza, the IDF will surely succeed despite all the obstacles. A modern army with support from trucks, equipment, logistics, and intelligence cannot defeat thousands of insurgents. Due to the brutality of these confrontations, Israel may regrettably pay a heavy price, but it will prevail. IDF Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Herzi Halevi wrote a letter to the soldiers stating that the war against Hamas was worth the severe and costly cost. According to Halevi, we are engaged in a protracted conflict that we want to fight through to its conclusion. By attacking the adversary on their territory, where they carry out their planning, and where the terrorists who betray their country originate, we are on the offensive against them. At a press conference earlier, Defense Minister Yoav Gallant remarked that war has a high cost and referred to the fallen soldiers as our children. According to Gallant, Israel must attack the enemy for the sake of the living, the martyrs, and the Israeli people in the State of Israel. According to Gallant and Halevi, Israel is making every effort to release 242 detainees into Gaza from the October 7th raid, the majority of whom are civilians who were abducted by Hamas. Speaking with Mirjana Spojarek, the head of the International Committee of the Red Cross, as part of Jerusalem's attempts to liberate the hostages, Foreign Minister Eli Cohen harshly attacked the group's current position. According to Cohen's office, Spojarek was informed by him that the IKRK ought to speak with all hostages and ask to be given medical aid. Spojarek was informed by Cohen that the Red Cross cannot claim to be legitimate if it does not provide visits to the captives held by Hamas, who include women, children, and Holocaust survivors. In the meantime, scores of Palestinians who were critically injured and would receive medical attention were permitted to leave Gaza through Egypt's Rafah border crossing, along with hundreds of foreign passport holders. President of the United States Joe Biden declared that citizens may leave Gaza if they so desire, with some being able to do so over the next several days. According to State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller, there are an estimated 700 Americans living in Gaza, of whom 400 have communicated with us officials since the start of the conflict to indicate a desire to depart. According to Miller, the US is trying to get these 400 people and their 600 family members out of Gaza. Furthermore, in his second public speech regarding the Hamas-Israel war, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran, urged Islamic nations to put economic sanctions on Israel for its lethal attacks and siege of the Gaza Strip. The head of Iran voiced his disapproval of the stances taken by Muslim politicians and urged Islamic nations to sever any ties of economic cooperation with Israel. The remarks made by Khamenei were consistent with his disdainful pre-war rhetoric opposing aspirations for rapprochement between some regional Arab states, most notably Saudi Arabia, and Tehran's fiercest foe, Israel. According to Hamas-affiliated organizations, the death toll in the Gaza Strip is close to 9,000. Khamenei commended the Gazan people for their struggle, which has affected people all over the world. The statements made by the Iranian officials have reignited concerns that more people may become aware of the war. This is a continuous narrative. Watch this space for more developments. We appreciate you following us.